ridiculous. Wow.
Okay, we are live, everyone. Thank you. I'm sorry.
All
Go
right,
again,
great.
Megan. Whatever you did, whatever helped, whatever that was.
All right.
Okay.
Towel her
we got it.
down.
In case anyone was trying to tune in, sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues, but we are live now and being recorded. And welcome to the August, can you believe it, August 2nd, Lincoln County Planning Commission meeting. At this time, Megan, you want to call the roll?
Chair Bobbitt,
Here.
Commissioner Pelletier, oh, I saw Judy raise her hand. Okay, she's here. Commissioner Kier,
Here.
Commissioner Lambert,
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Here.
Commissioner Cutler,
Here.
perfect. Commissioner Stratton,
Here.
Commissioner Bugenhagen.
I am here.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum. Okay. Do we have any items that weren't on the agenda at this point in time?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Tonight, we're holding a live virtual electronic public proceeding on 3 case files. Those are file 01 LUPC 21, file 02 LUPC 21, and 03 LUPC 21. The applicants are Sea Ridge Condominiums, Club World Mark at Glen Eden Beach, Edward and Joan Tanabe, Richard and Sally Grant, Terry and Janice DeSilvia, and Sherry Kahn. Each of the applicants requested an amendment to the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan to adopt a goal exception to Goal 18 Implementation Requirement 5. The effect of the goal exceptions would be to allow the placement of beachfront protective structures at the subject properties. It should be noted that a single hearing was conducted on each of these 3 goal exception applications on June 14, 2021, which was reconvened on June 29, 2021. At the end of the proceeding on June 29th, the Planning Commission acted on each of these goal exception applications. A motion was made and carried to approve the Goal 18 exception for case file 01 LUPC 21, Sea Ridge Condominiums. The motion also directed staff to prepare findings and an ordinance. A motion was made and carried to approve a Goal 18 exception for case file 02 LUPC 21, Club World Market at Glen Eden Beach. The motion also directed staff to prepare findings and an ordinance. A motion was made and carried to approve a Goal 18 exception for file 03 LUPC 21, Grant, Tanabe, Kane, DeSilvia. The motion also directed staff to prepare findings and an ordinance. Tonight, we're scheduled to review the findings prepared by staff in conjunction with the applicant's attorneys. So everyone has looked at these, and are there any discussion, corrections, any comments on any of the 3 findings or ordinance?
Madam Chair, if I can, staff has some corrections
Okay.
that we wanted to list off really quickly. If we go through our corrections first, and then if any of the commissioners had identified anything else, just shout them out. But
Okay.
I'll work through this list. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to just go through these by page number and document and just reference them. If anybody wants, I can bring the document up and share the screen, show them. On all 3 of the findings, the 01, the 02, and the 03 documents, on page 2, there are some acronyms used for the water and sewer district. I corrected those acronyms. They were the wrong acronyms. Not a big deal, but I just wanted to mention it. On the 03 LUPC 21 on page 2, there's a subsection 9. This is for multiple properties, not just one. So there's a second sentence that we're changing the text from this property to these properties, just pluralizing it. On all three of the documents, depending on which one is on page 2 or 3, it's in the bulleted list of criteria that are applicable. There was a period after one of the sentences of goals. It's just deleting that. On all three of the documents, there's the last sentence in the third paragraph under summary of application. It says right now in capital letters, Oregon Shore. It was recommended to us by one of the people that looked at the document to just replace that to Ocean Shore in small letters, no capitals. And all three of the documents on page 10 or 11, it's going to be the second to the last paragraph under the applicant's narrative statement. Right now, it has a sentence that needs an "and" inserted after the applicant's narrative statement, comma, "and is hereby," and then it continues on. The "and" is.
John, on your 5, it says 2 and 3 and not 1, 2, and 3. So is that just with 2 and 3?
Correct. Thank you. It's just the O2 and the O3. So it is actually correct on the O1 LUPC. So yeah, thank you, Jerry. On O1 and O3, but not the O2 LUPC document, there's a citation. It's on pages 15 or 16, depending on which document you're looking at. It cites Yamhill County. It's under the Oregon Shores versus Coos County citation. There's a semicolon after the 55 that just needs to be struck. Just a very minor thing. On the O2, O3 LUPC on pages roughly 22 or 23, subsection 15, they're actually citing the Lincoln County's code. Our code actually has an incorrect acronym in it. It says RNKI. It should be RNKR. So we're putting a SIC right after that. And I corrected it on O1. I just didn't get it on the O2 and the O3 LUPC. And then on the O3 LUPC 21 on page 24, top of the page in response to subsection 20, second sentence, it's the way it's phrased, we're going to delete, it actually says, well, actually it's referencing the wrong application. It says a significant existing condominium development. Well, this is actually for the 4 homes. So we're going to strike that and it's going to replace it with the existing 4 homes on the subject properties. It's actually the applicant's attorney, Dennis Barthold, us to pointed that out. So I appreciate that. And then the last one, this is more relevant. All the stuff I just mentioned was just corrections, grammatical corrections, punctuation, that kind of thing. This one is actually substantive. On all 3 documents under, depending on which document you're on, it's page 26 or 28. This is the finding on goal 7. The way it's phrased right now, it's both incorrect and doesn't make any sense the way it's phrased. What staff's recommendation for this finding should be is right now it says the commission finds that the proposed amendment will permit is consistent with goal 7. That's obviously doesn't make any sense. Staff's recommending that this finding say the county finds that the proposed amendment will permit the installation of a beachfront protective structure for the purpose of protecting property from natural hazards, in parentheses, ocean erosion, period. And then the next sentence is, therefore, the amendment is consistent with goal 7. And that's what staff's recommending for that finding. And those are the corrections that we're recommending right now. If anybody had any other, if they saw any other errors or have any other corrections to recommend, please, discuss it amongst yourself and you can proceed forward. So, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, John. Shaylin?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things, and they're in all three documents. So the first one has to do with, it's on page in the let's see, the Sea Ridge. It's on page 9, and it says just 15 out of the 268 oceanfront lots are not currently protected by riprap. That particular statement, actually there are more than 15 lots that are not currently riprapped. So the way that is stated, I understand what we were trying to say, but the way that's stated isn't saying, it's indicating something other than what is actually existing. So I would like to have us restate that to say just 15 out of the 268 oceanfront lots are classified under Goal 18 IR 5 as ineligible for the construction, or as it's stated later in the documents, the subject property is one of only 15 tax lots out of 268 on Glen Eden Beach that are both unprotected and identified as ineligible for shoreline protected structures. So I think it's a little clearer that way. Otherwise, we end up with indicating that there's only 15 that have not been riprapped, and that's not correct. And let's see, the other thing, and this is more substantive, all the way through all three of the documents, there has been an attempt to portray the project as having no impact, or will not impact. And the assessments don't really support that assumption. The assessments use words like minimal, negligible, less or no, less insignificant, and other synonyms, excuse me. So I think we need to adjust the wording in the findings throughout all three documents that use those words, such as no significant impact, little or no additional impact, negligible, and so forth. I leave that up to staff to make those changes, but because it's all the way through the documents. But otherwise, it's indicating that there's not going to be any impact at all, and I don't think that's correct. If for nothing else, there's going to be some additional cumulative impact, especially over in the Glen Eden Beach Park area. So those are the two things that I really noticed that I felt needed to be addressed.
So Shaylin, if I understand you correctly, in all those places where it said definitively no impact, you're looking for a qualifier in there to say.
Yeah, because when you go back, and I mean, in many of them, it actually says, according to the assessment, or according to the critical, in that kind of thing. And that isn't what the assessment actually says. The assessment actually specifies that it has minimal impact, or it has little or no. So I think that instead of us saying no impact, which indicates it doesn't matter if it's there or not, that we need to make that change into the.
And in those places, that's just referring to the effect on the natural resources. Those are not places that are referring no impact means, because we don't want to cloud the issue of a lot of times that no impact. Well, that I think in some places in the draft, it makes the point that by allowing additional riprap to occur in that cell, it's not going to impact the fate of the beach, because the beach, as we know, is basically, from a scientific perspective, declared irretrievable. So
yeah, I think I understand, Anna, what you're saying, and I agree with you that we really need to nail it down a bit so that we're voting on something tonight, and we really need to know what it is that we're voting on. And so if you could be as specific as possible about this absolute concept, that you're talking about, and where it applies and where you want to change, I think that would be good.
You-
Are you
You're
so-
talking
to Commissioner Shailen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Is it
have a
for-
list of those, Shailen? I mean, I just kind of opened up a page and I see what you're talking about, for example, on 01, page 19, causing no harm to the health. You know, I see that
Right.
wording now. I didn't catch it before, but I see what you're saying. But that, I don't know how many of those there are and how everyone else feels about this.
There's a lot of them, which is why I didn't try to go on page such and such, on page such and such. Let's see if I can give you an example.
But before you do that, Shailen, I'm for Jerry that, tonight, given that now, if we're not ready to vote tonight, we're not ready to vote tonight. So I'm not trying to say we got to vote tonight or move this forward tonight, but we are running out of time in terms of if these people are going to be successful at deploying riprap, as we've heard, the winter's coming. And so I just want to make sure if the commission has already voted for this, we're trying to get out of here tonight with a minutes package. Jerry, do you think, do we need to have the specificity at this point, or do you believe that a motion that includes instructions as provided by Shailen then as part of a larger motion, is that going to be adequate? To still
If
move
we know
forward?
what we're voting on, and if we know basically where the changes are, I think that's okay. But if there's some ambiguity about what they are, I don't think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Because I think I do understand. That's why I asked the follow-up question of Shailen, is that I think those and thank you for bringing it up, Shailen, but the point is that, yeah, basically some of the findings right now say for those others, what minimal natural resources are left in that situation, there's no impact. And your point is that there should be a qualifier in that.
Most of the ones they specifically say no impact, and especially where they say the assessment says no impact, but the assessment doesn't say no impact. It says it may say it has a limited effect, it has a minimal impact, and I think that what we say in our findings needs to be consistent with the actual assessment if the assessment is specified.
So what is the qualifier that you want to use?
I don't care.
Well,
And
I
it might,
think the
and
group
it,
has to agree.
yeah, and I think that it just needs to make sure that the qualifier is consistent with the documents that they are quoting. So,
Okay.
and that can vary depending on where we are, what documents are being quoted. For example, let's see. Oh, gosh.
While you're looking for that, Misty has her hand up. Misty, do you have something you can say right now while she's looking?
Could you do a global search and replace that would say something to the effect that instead of no impact, you could globally replace the no impact with something like, with the understanding of the impact by such and such document, impact, like acknowledging that we understand that there was an impact in a particular document. Could you just do a global replace on that, or come up with some terminology that would, instead of saying there's no impact, saying understanding that there is an impact, but we're still accepting
that's what that qualifier is, that it would an additional word that would say little or no, or not a substantial.
Yeah, just change it. Instead of no impact, can you just change it? Would you be happy if we just changed it with the minimal impact?
How about
Or
using
words like insignificant or insubstantial to make it simpler? Dick, go ahead.
how about no significant impact?
So-
Let's hold on here. Staff, would it be possible? You guys have these documents in Word right now. If we took a tiny recess for a few minutes and identified, like Misty said, globally searching through, and gave us page numbers and a qualifier, so we
You know,
could.
Madam Chair, just before anyone else, these five, just like we thought we could get back to you in a week or two on these things. And I mean, I'm not sure that's possible. I don't think we're going to get out of here alive. If we're going to start, trying to find each of those places and tonight agreeing on that. Go ahead, John, unless you feel differently. That's why I'm looking for a set. If we're going to make that adjustment, then I think it needs to be an emotion that authorizes us to do that.
Right. I just was asking if it was possible. So John is
Okay.
I'm moving somewhere right now. John, go ahead.
So it's the context issue of the document itself. So when you go through all three of these documents, where it talks about no impacts, I got to know what the context is. And so, because there's a lot of statements about no impacts, but sometimes it's not talking about impacts to the beach. Sometimes it's talking about impacts to the adjacent properties. So, so what would be very, very helpful at this point would to be specific citations in the document. Shaylin, if you could hand me one or two, we could kind of take a look and see what we got, and then work forward.
Because
Okay.
Just looking around, I can see where we would need 5 votes to carry this, and I don't think in its present form we're going to get there. I could be wrong. If they didn't felt like it's fine the way it is, but I don't think I'm getting a sense from the discussion that we're not there. And so, given the time constraints, I'm just.
Yeah, but I would invite you to, instead of being uncomfortable, because I'm afraid we're just not, I just know what it takes to start editing this draft. And to do it as a body tonight and try to slog through that could take hours. And I'm not trying to dismiss any of the concern. I'm just saying that there might be a realistic instruction to us in a motion that says, as long as, that's why Jerry and I were both trying to understand exactly where Shaylin, what the concern was. And then a potential approach could be, rather than trying to do a bunch of editing on the fly, which is really probably not realistic. And given the press of time and how long people have been waiting on this already, I think a principled path could be, you give us the instruction based on what our enhanced understanding now of what the concern is, and build that into a motion, and we take care of that.
Okay. Misty, you have a comment?
Well, I was just wondering if, I think that I would be happy with the document mostly as it stands right now. With what I'm thinking about is, if you say, well, there's no impact to any of the exterior properties or other properties or neighboring properties or whatever the other terminology is for the other properties, if you say there's absolutely no impact to that, and then later those properties want to go through this process because they have been impacted, because I think the neighboring property issue, coming up with some kind of terminology that just in the cases that say there's no impact to the neighboring properties, say acknowledging that there could be to the neighboring properties, there could be impact, may help them in a later appeal when they come back to us if the riprap ruins their property next door.
Well, Misty, if I may, if anyone who didn't join this group in coming forward with a goal exception within that cell, and if this is successful tonight and they get the goal exceptions, that path has been blazed. They would just, it would be a cut and paste. At that point, they would be using precisely the same arguments that seem to be gaining traction, have gained traction here with you, and actually a number of other people that have looked at this and have provided feedback about the findings, that other very skilled individuals have been involved with this and have said that the findings do in fact are quite successful at meeting your instructions, which meaning they're narrow and they're specific. And so and on the other hand, anyone else that needs to come in they're going to need riprap anyway eventually. That's the very nature of what's going on there. All those bluffs are retreating. And so, it's not like that's why when I've spoke to several of those people, it's like, well, you're going to need, one or two of them, well, you're going to need a riprap job anyway, because the bluff is retreating. Now, it may be because it might happen sooner, but those impacts and those people are going to eventually, they will need riprap. And if they can't, and if they're not eligible now, I suspect some of them will be looking for the same kind of treatment, but we don't really need to be concerned about them having a more, a clearer path or something, or somehow they're not going to be able to get it because of what we do here tonight. I just don't.
Okay. All
I
right,
don't see
Phil.
that.
Phil, why don't you chime in here, please?
Okay. My opinion is that we are a public body that aren't attorneys and that aren't legal experts, and we're voting on this tonight. And I think we're splitting hairs on a lot of this stuff. And I read through everything, and I noticed that some of it didn't make too much sense to me, but I'm not a scholar, and I'm not going to sit and read word for word several times to try to find a mistake. But just going over this, I think it meets the test. And I don't think we need to know I don't think we need to have anything in there that says little or no significant impact. Let's just leave it the way it is, because this has gone on a long time. And in all my years on the Planning Commission, we have never had anything this involved. Nothing even close to it. The only thing that was more than what this was the whole planning of the county. That took longer. But all the legal minds have looked at this. Our county council has looked at this, and I would follow what their directions are. That's just what I think personally. But I see no reason to make these minuscule changes for something that might occur or might not. And I think Onno hit it on the head where he says, yeah, if somebody's property is impacted, they're going to come back with the same thing that's already been blazed, but that's just my opinion.
Okay,
Madam
thank
Chair,
you, Phil. Let's Terry, you want to go ahead?
Yes, I agree with Phil. This is just the start of things to come. There will be other properties impacted, and the number is relatively low to those that have been armored. And I would expect them to come in. This is what we do. We allow development, we take care of problems, and we move forward. And yeah, there might be a little technical issue here, but I think we can run through that and have a successful final draft, if you will. And if we need to address it on down the line, I think we've got an ample opportunity to do that. But I think these people deserve, all three applications deserve to have our concurrence to move forward.
Okay, Shaylin, do you have, back to you?
Well, I do think it needs to be changed, but that's my personal opinion. Because it needs to basically be consistent with the assessments and the other legal documents that have been used as references. So if we're going to reference something, it needs to be consistent with what is said in that reference. John was asking about an example. There's a couple, but on the world mark of findings, John, an example would be on page 20. The two findings that are there. And I would recommend that we say little or no harm instead of just no harm. On page 21, I would recommend that we rewrite that to read structures will have limited impact on the natural functions. That's just an example, which is why, as you were saying earlier, it has to depend on context rather than a blanket put in there and say little or no additional impact or whatever. That doesn't work in all of the written scenarios. So I'd be glad to, I'll go ahead and depends on what other people are voting for. If we want to leave it, we can. But I do need to say that I think that we need to qualify those negatives throughout all three documents.
All right, Scarlett, go ahead.
I think as this board, we have a responsibility to everyone in our community, not just the ones that hired the attorneys to bring this to us, but the ones that didn't also. And we've got to get this right for everyone. So I'm inclined to think that what Shaylin's putting forth is very important. This Pandora's box is open. We got to get it right.
All right, Misty, do you have further comment? Your can't see you, but I'm not.
No, I said what I was going to say.
Okay, I didn't know if your opinion changed. Judith, do you have any opinion?
I tend to concur with Phil's opinion.
Okay, all right, Dick. How about Judy? Judy, are you there? I can't hear you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I concur with Phil as well, because I think when we start to edit these three documents in terms of changing each no impact statement, that we might as well just give up because it's going to be too late to do anything anyway. And when I read it in context of where no impact was being stated, not in terms of broad no impact, but how it will not impact that particular paragraph or section of the documents.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead, Anno.
And I don't want to interrupt the flow of your, but there's another very important thing to think about as we go forward tonight. If you vote yes for this, and we've already got a few changes, John has listed them, and even if you instruct us and authorize us to examine Shaylin's comments about inserting these qualifiers, please understand, if you vote yes and move this on tonight, there'll be a short appeal period that people can appeal your decision. But almost certainly this, as you know, this is a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. They're going to be holding a de novo hearing on this in the very, very near future. Any feedback you have tonight, in addition to what we've talked about, can certainly be provided to the Board of Commissioners, because the set of findings we're talking about tonight is basically a recommendation. And if other changes are spotted, or we would certainly pass along whatever you guys have suggested in terms of to our Board of Commissioners as well. But there's going to be yet another bite at the apple at what will be then the final findings. And I pray that they're very much like this with whatever the Board of Commissioners does. But just so you know, that there is this other very important next stage of this process. It's going to happen at the Board of Commissioner level very, very soon. And so I'm sharing that to make sure that you understand if there's something in here that isn't quite right or can be improved, that this is not the final call on what ultimately is going to be done with the commissioners and the set of findings that they adopt. And again, I hope they're very, very close to what is here now, because the idea of trying to unwind these things and start over is not something that I think serves anybody well at this point. But so thank you for letting me interrupt, because I think it's really important to understand that there is that other process that's just about to start in the very, very near future about this very matter.
Right. And planning commissioners can participate in that process at all with a letter, or it's a de novo hearing, so you can, I believe. Jerry can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that just because you're a commissioner excludes you from public comment on that process.
That is correct. Planning commission members certainly can participate at the board level.
Right. I have
and to amplify what Jerry just said, I think it's exceptionally important as your staff goes into that next process as staff for the Board of Commissioners, that every single nuance that came out of the process at your level gets communicated to the Board of Commissioners, so that to help them then take action as well. So even if you didn't feel inclined to write a letter or participate directly in that process, the very nature of what we're talking about here, from a staff perspective, is going to be communicated to them as well.
Are there any other comments? Otherwise, one way or another, we either get a motion on one at a time to move forward and approve these with the staff corrections, or we will be waiting to convene again to incorporate these other changes. I think that's where we're sitting at the moment.
I think we need to move forward. At least that's my opinion.
Is
If
that a
there are
motion?
I will make a motion that the Lincoln County Planning Commission finds the proposed exceptions as to the protections of the oceanfront buildings and the reasons for the exception for Goal 18 IR5 for the property in all three cases, and that it satisfies the applicable criteria.
Okay, so that,
You're moving to approve. It might be better to do one at a time, but basically you want to approve the orders with the modifications that John O'Leary went over tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as presented is very good. I have to compliment staff on putting this together. And I think in all three cases, it is necessary to move forward with a little bit of speed, because as I can tell you, construction period is drawing to a close this year. And
Okay,
if we're going to get this work done,
so
we
just
need
to
to move
Would you
quickly.
be willing to do one motion at a time? Because the reason why I say that is people may have varying votes for each one. And in fact, that happened when we
yes,
did
Right.
the oral.
You're correct, Jerry. So, well, let's take 01 LUPC-21 to Sea Ridge and apply that motion.
Okay,
that is a motion to approve the final conclusions, final order, and make a recommendation to the board. Is that your motion?
That's it.
Okay,
Boy, I skinnied it down, but you did a better job.
Can I clarify the motion really quick? Do you want that as presented or with the corrections noted by staff tonight?
Terry, That's with the corrections of staff from
With the
tonight?
corrections of staff, yes.
Okay. There's a motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay, Dick. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a roll call on this since I can't see everyone.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kier.
Yes.
You speak up, Megan?
Oh. Commissioner Lambrecht,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Cutler,
Yes,
Commissioner Stratton,
You're muted, Shaylin.
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Bugenhagen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion carries. So that is 01. Would you care to do 02?
I will do O2 as a repeat performance.
and I would
And
second.
that has to do with the World Mark properties. And I move that the same criteria apply.
Okay,
And I would second that one as well.
Dick has seconded that. Okay. Let's go ahead and call.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kier,
No.
Commissioner Lambrecht,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Cutler,
Yes,
Commissioner Stratton,
Yes.
Commissioner Bugenhagen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And
And
finally,
therefore, I would move on 03 LUPC 21, the Lincoln Avenue homes, the 4 homes, that we apply the same motion and criteria
and recommendation.
and recommendations. Yes. Thank you.
and I would second that as well.
Okay. And round the call again.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kier,
No.
Commissioner Lambrecht,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Cutler,
Yes,
Commissioner Stratton,
Yes.
Commissioner Bugenhagen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We made it through all 3. Good work, everybody. I know this has been very difficult with everything that we have had to deal with. And I thank you all for your patience and for all these meetings.
Madam Chair, may I say something very quickly? I want to thank everybody. I also want to point out to Shaylin that I think your points are well taken. We're going to examine the draft and we're going to check the references and make sure in our staff report to the Board of Commissioners, and we'll take a look at that internally with also some of the other legal folks and kick the tires real hard on that, on the qualifiers. And that will become part of I will make sure that that becomes part of the discussion at the Board of Commissioners level. So that issue's not going to be lost.
Thank
Because
you.
I think it was, and I appreciate you reading and thinking as hard as you did about the draft, so that those comments are still in play. And I'll make sure that Commissioner Skolnick, I think, is trying to get in here.
Well, I just want to give kudos to Ono and his staff for
Right.
this huge, huge undertaking. And I mean, it's, to me, it's just mind blowing of all the work that you guys put in. And you are A+ in my opinion. And I just want to congratulate you guys for doing such an awesome job.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I feel very privileged to work with the people I do and Jerry and you know, this has been such a team process. We've had the benefits of having Matt Spangler being intimately involved with this process and Jerry's been outstanding. In this process, we also reached out to our colleagues at the state. Steve Shipsey from the Oregon Department of Justice has been in the final stages of trying to take the applicant's work and then getting it to the point where it matched your instructions. They were all involved. So there's been an awful lot of people being very generous with their time and talent to bring us to where we are today. So thank you, Commissioner Spolnick. Your thoughts are deeply appreciated, and I'm very proud to be part of this wonderful team.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to echo that exact thing. And you give me, what you've done tonight, I know it's given me a certain amount of comfort in your opinion, and particularly the fact that you're going to go ahead and make this discussion clear to the board so that they know that those concerns were brought up, because I think the words do count. But I agree that we need to expedite it. So that's the reason for my vote at this point.
Gary?
Yeah, I've got to add to those very nice compliments to all. But is there something that the board could or should do with regard to the commissioners when it's presented to them? Is there a presence of us or some other options that would be helpful to move this thing across? Because I've had the opportunity, not because these came up. I've seen these three areas plus some others when I was living on the beach, and I know what they're facing.
I'd leave it to our county council here, but you know, you can participate, but the one thing that I said in one of the previous meetings is when you gave us I think you really, all of you listened hard and really internalized a lot of the different things that were said in the earlier part of these proceedings. And when you gave us such a blindingly clear set of instructions about how to proceed, that's when I think that was your finest hour. And that's what we really needed out of you, when perhaps the most important point of this process was again, your deliberations and your instructions about keeping this narrow so that we wouldn't create unfortunate precedents, because we all understand, and that was in the staff report, that riprap is terrible for beaches. And so that's why this whole process has meant so much, not just for the people that live in that section of the beach, but for all Oregonians that care about Goal 18 and care about the beaches in the future. So again, you've already done quite a bit, but if you want to participate some more, of course you can. Jerry?
Let me know when that comes up.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can do that. And from my perspective, Planning Commission has created, and with your work, there's the record surrounding your work here, so the board will be aware of that. All this will be included in the staff report. And as Ano has said, if you in addition would like to testify before the board, you're more than welcome to do so.
Great. Okay, well, definitely send out a mass email to all of us.
You'll know for sure.
Okay. Scarlett?
I have a question. So is this recorded somewhere? Do these findings get put in the files for these different properties? How does the next person that purchases these properties know about all of this?
Well, yes. Every single part, the record keeping function here at the county is really something 9 years later I still marvel at. Every single property has a file, and electronically under our Rolodex procedure and such, so all of this information runs with the land. And so, but for the next owners of this property, if it continues to go forward and they get to deploy the riprap and they're goal 18 eligible, I'm not sure they're going to have to look at this big ugly file and try to make sense of it, because they will have categorically, then they'll be deemed eligible. And in the years ahead, if, depending on what the ocean does and everything like that, if they need to repair their riprap permits, they'll already be declared eligible. They won't have to go through this again. They'll just be dealing with state parks to get a repair permit for the riprap.
Yeah, I don't know if I may.
Please.
Commissioner Kerr, this doesn't come up very often. Most people, I'm going to be honest, except for a handful of people, and most of them have been involved in this process. Most people wouldn't know this. We're amending our comp plan for these particular properties. So these specific properties get a unique place in Lincoln County's comp plan. The documentation that demonstrates these properties are going to be eligible for riprap, with this exception, is basically sitting inside the very goals and policies of Lincoln County's comprehensive plan. Very few properties, in fact, a handful of properties will ever get placed in the comp plan like this. So this is a really unique and extraordinary step that the county's taking, and it is a really, and the documentation that goes with it is equally unique and extraordinary. So these are very, very special designations that get placed in these properties in perpetuity. So it's safe to say no one will ever lose track of this, because you'd have to lose track of the entire comp plan to lose track of these.
To put this in perspective, Planning Commission has made the decision tonight, and that is really a decision, but it's also a recommendation. This will come before the board as a de novo hearing, and the board will decide. So we can't presume that something will happen, but we do know what the Planning Commission has done, and we'll go present this to the board and see what happens.
Thank you for the clarification, Jerry, because right, there is an important next step. That's what I made a big point of saying. If there's something else that needs to be done with the findings, there isn't. We're not quite done. It leaves your hands, your capable hands, but there is that other step that goes forward. But we've established one hell of a record, and I'm very, very proud of what we've done together to serve this up to our Board of Commissioners in a way that I think will create a lot more light than heat. So thank you.
Great. Okay, and hopefully all the remaining properties up and down the coast who are ineligible will have big marks on their property when they want to buy it, that they know that they are still ineligible. But I'm not sure that's in realtor, discovery, but anyhow. Yeah. Anyhow, okay. We have two more things. The minutes of the July 12th meeting. Anyone read them? Would like to make a motion to accept those minutes? Anyone awake out there?
I would move we accept the minutes of the July 12th meeting as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, on this one, let's everyone thumbs up or down, except for Judy. Tell us what you want.
Yes, up.
Okay.
I'm not, yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Misty, Terry, everyone approve the minutes? Yes. Okay, unanimous. And then how about the minutes for, what was that, the 19th or
The
29th?
19th.
19th.
I would move we approve the minutes of July 19th.
I'll second.
Terrific. Okay, all those in favor, thumbs up?
Up.
Great, unanimous. All righty. Are there any other planning commission concerns?
I just have one thing to share, Madam Chair, that Casey Miller did put out a press release asking for, we're 2 members down because Judy will be stepping down soon, retiring from the planning commission after all these years. So that process right now is running its course in terms of asking people in the public to submit their names for consideration. So that we're working on what would be Judy's replacement and a new seat for a North Coast seat as well.
Terrific. Good to hear.
Shaylin's trying to get in
Yeah,
here.
one question. Do we still have a meeting next Monday?
Yes, we need to have a meeting next Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
And what shall we prepare for that meeting?
Staff?
That's a good question. And really what
I'm
you're
sorry.
preparing for, no, we need to continue. There's been a request for another postponement. Okay. And so we need to do that on the record. It should be a very short meeting. We need to have at least a quorum. And that'll be the order of business unless there are additional things that staff presents to you.
There won't be on that matter in particular.
Okay.
Okay.
Jerry, should we say the postponement date so the commissioners know?
Yes, there should be a date.
23rd?
Yeah, that's what they asked for, wasn't it? It was the 20, isn't that correct? The 23rd. Yes.
There's a 2-week postponement to August.
Yep,
Monday,
that
August
will
23rd.
be the motion. Yes, thank you very much, Megan.
So
Thank you,
that,
Megan.
that would delay the presentation of these findings to the county
It's
commission?
a different.
No,
No,
different. So don't,
Oh, okay.
that's separate from tonight's happenings, and what it will do is it will delay the other, and it is possible that that one will go away. I cannot tell you what will happen, but it is possible that appeal will go away.
the appeal on the denial of the building permit. right?
Yeah, it's really appeal on the decision on the Lux, I think, is really, so that's what it really is. Okay, that was a good question. Thank you.
And thank you, Megan, for that, right, nailing down that 23rd, right, because that's what they requested. That applicant.
If that applicant, if that does go forward, I will not be in attendance on the 23rd.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? That's
I
right, Terry.
move we
I saw your
adjourn the
eyebrows
meeting.
go up. You're vice chair, right, Terry?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Are you vice chair?
I've been told that, but I haven't
Yeah.
figured it out yet, what
You
that
are.
means.
Okay.
I think he is. I don't know that we've sworn him in yet, but
Well, I have a lot of swearing coming at me after the closing on this house.
Well, you are now.
Okay.
well, again,
All
thank
right.
you, everybody.
Thank you,
for the
Planning
kind
Commission.
remarks. Thank you for your good work.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we are
Thank you.
adjourned. Staff, hold on
Have a
a
good week.
second.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
hold
hold.
Okay, I just wanted to, my time's getting a little limited, so I want to know when you want me to come in and sign off on these things, when you expect to have them ready.
We can have them ready first thing in the morning. So anytime tomorrow morning would be fine. So,
That would be terrific. That's what I was hoping your answer would be.
great.
Right, and we'll be issuing a notice of decision.
No
And
later
next-
than Wednesday.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank
Great.
you.
I'll see you all tomorrow.
you bet. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.